This is the Mercedes-Benz A220 4MATIC, not to be confused with the Airbus A220. This is Mercedes' attempt to appeal to the Millennial generation. And since I'm a Millennial, I feel like I'm probably qualified to do a review on this car. But before I do that, I want to give a special shout out to Mercedes-Benz of Wilsonville for giving me the keys to this A220. Check them out down below. They are the only AMG Performance Center in all of Oregon. They are also like the biggest dealership by volume in Oregon. They sell a lot of cars, guys, because they have a great inventory and an awesome staff. So please check them out. Okay, so looking at the exterior of the A-Class, the first thing you're gonna notice is that your eyes are not burning out of the back of your skull, and that's because this is a pretty good looking car. It's understated, it's not too crazy, but good looking. I think if you were to pull up next to somebody else in a nice car, you wouldn't feel too out of place. But again, I'm not really the kind of person that cares what other people think, so take that for what you think it's worth. We have these 18-inch 5-spoke black on, machined face wheels. I think those are really cool. It's about a $500 option. Worth upgrading. The base wheels are kind of eh. But one of the greatest things about the A-Class is the standard LED headlights. Yeah, long gone are the days of having halogen headlight bulbs in your Mercedes-Benz. I don't understand how they went so long putting a halogen headlight in the C-Class, the CLA, the GLA. It's like, come on guys, just stick some xenons or stick some LEDs in the car. And they've finally done it. I'm so happy. But I will say the taillights, although they're all LED, I don't know what they're doing with the whole Y design on them. They're just not, I don't know, doesn't jive with me. And overall, it's just an unoffensive car to look at. Moving on to the interior of the A-Class, and the first thing you're gonna notice is just how nice it is in here compared to like the first generation CLA. That car had a lot of plastic in it, and although this car does have plastic, it just feels nicer. I mean, the worst part of it is probably the grab handle and the door panels. They're not the nicest, but everything else on the interior of this thing feels really premium. You have this black piano wood trim, or it's not really wood, but it's probably plastic, but it looks like black piano wood. We also have this trim on the door panel as well as the dashboard. We have a brand new 10.25-inch dual screen setup in here. So one for your gauge cluster and one for your infotainment. That's a no-brainer option for me. The standard screens are 7-inch and they just kind of look weird in the photos that I've seen. And there's so much functionality in these 10.25-inch screens. You just get that option. We also have the new steering wheel that you would find in the new 2019 C-Class and E-Class with the 2 touchpads on each side. Really a clever design. We also have the multimedia package in here, which comes with MBUX, which we will get to in a little bit. That's kind of the start of the show. Brand new climate control vents that work with the ambient lighting. These are straight out of the G-Class, so really, really nice design. Standard panoramic sunroof. We have optional heated seats in here. Standard dual power front seats with memory. It's a pretty nice car. Even if you don't check any of the boxes, you're still getting a lot of things for your money. But overall, the theme in here is premium. It feels like a Mercedes-Benz in here, more so than the CLA and GLA ever have. Although I can't speak for the brand new CLA, GLA, but yeah, really nice interior on this car. All right, and just in case you're wondering how an adult like me, I don't know, I'm 5'11", how do I fit in the back seat of this thing? Well, not too bad. My hair is touching the ceiling, but as you can see, I have plenty of room here for my feet. I have this seat set up for me. Again, I'm 5'10" or 11, so if you're probably 6'2" or 3", that might be the limit of what you can fit in this car. I will say I probably wouldn't like to be in here for a road trip, but around town, not bad. Oh, one thing that is absolutely crazy about this car, and I just noticed it as I'm pulling out this rear ashtray / power delivery station, is every USB port in this thing is a USB-C. So if you have an iPhone, you're gonna need to get either a Lightning to USB-C, or you're gonna need to buy the adapter, because I think the car comes with it, but either way, you're gonna need an adapter to go from USB-C to normal USB in order to use Apple CarPlay, or even to charge your phone if you do not have a USB-C connector on it already. So interesting fact. As for the trunk, you have split folding rear seats. They're not gonna fold down, but maybe I can push them down. There we go. Yeah, so you got folding rear seats back here, and no power trunk closer, which, I mean, whatever, it's a inexpensive car, so you can't really expect that. But ample room to put things in here. You could probably fit a pair of golf clubs, or if you're a millennial like me, all of your ground coffee beans will fit in here. So what powers this beast, you might ask? Well, it's a 2-liter inline-4 with a turbocharger, 188 horsepower, 221 pound-feet of torque, which is pretty healthy. 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds. It gets an EPA-rated 28 miles to gallon city and 33 miles to the gallon highway. All right, let's talk about how the A220 4MATIC drives. You know, in my opinion, I would say this car is perfectly neutral. It's not super sporty, it's not really luxurious, but it's also not like a $15,000 Econobox that shakes your head until you can't think anymore. And that's really the best way I can describe it. It's just not anything to write home about, but it's also not going to distract you from just trying to get home. And for a car like this, that's sort of the perfect spot for it to be, right? You're not buying this car to take it out on a track day, but you're also expecting something that's going to be comfortable enough for you to daily drive. So it fits right into that slot perfectly well. Now the engine and transmission, I feel like, are also decent. I'm not a huge fan of the dual clutch transmission, not because it's this particular transmission, but because I'm not a fan of them in general in cars like these. Obviously in something like a Porsche 911 or 458, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to have a dual clutch transmission, but in a car like this, they're just a little too jerky for me. You know, driving in the traffic earlier, it was just, you know, in between certain gears, I really felt it, and it was just a little unpleasant. I really much prefer having a torque converter transmission in a car like this, but that being said, Mercedes has done a really good job at making this as best they could, and taking off from a stop, it definitely feels more like a traditional automatic transmission than most dual clutches that I've driven. So I'll give them credit there. And as for the engine, there's plenty of horsepower, plenty of torque. You know, it's 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds. Again, we're not breaking any records here, but if you're trying to get onto the freeway, it's going to give you confidence that you need to do that without being afraid that you're going to get run into by somebody else in the lane next to you. It handles really well, much better than my E55, I will say, but that's to be expected out of a car that's 20 years newer. It takes corners pretty well. These Michelin tires grip pretty well. So overall, if you're a car enthusiast, this isn't really going to be a car that, you know, provides that visceral experience. But if you're somebody who's just trying to look for a nice car to get from point A to point B, overall the driving experience of this car fits that bill pretty nicely. So now we're going to throw this thing into a couple of corners because, you know, why not? We have the road here to do it. So we're on the brakes, coming into this corner. And I'm in comfort mode right now. Yeah, I mean, it's a peppy little car. It's taking these corners pretty well. You know, obviously this all-wheel drive drivetrain is front-wheel drive bias, but I'm not getting a lot of torque steer, so that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the way that this thing took those corners. So let's talk about the tech on the inside of this car, and let's start off by saying the ambient lighting in this car is off the hook. It is the same 64 color system that we have seen in other Mercedes-Benz models, and if you know anything about me, I'm a huge fan of ambient lighting. But that's actually not the coolest thing about this car. It is the MBUX system, and well, you might be wondering, what is MBUX? It is essentially taking the infotainment of your car and making it smart. Not just by adding an assistant to it, which it does have, but by also adding some helpful features that make the experience a little bit more familiar. If you're anything like me, you've grown up with a smartphone for pretty much your entire adult life, and you're used to things working a certain way. So looking at the infotainment system here, not only do we have a touchscreen, which I'm blown away by because I'm pretty sure at one point we didn't think Mercedes was ever going to put a touchscreen in their car, but we have other little features in the system that make it super helpful. So for instance, we're here on the home page. If we click and hold on one of these icons, we can actually move it to a different spots in the infotainment, so much like your smartphone. But we also have a little pad down here that we can use to scroll through all our options, and it has a haptic feedback. So every time you click, every time you hear that click, I'm actually feeling a click in the pad as well, so that's really cool. But even better than that is the assistant feature, which we'll show right now. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help you?
Change the radio station to channel 44. Huh? Pretty cool. So now we have channel 44. Obviously the volume is down right now, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. We can actually tell Mercedes to change even the ambient color of the car. So Hey Mercedes,
How can I help you?
change the ambient lighting to white.
Okay, I'm changing the color.
Hey Mercedes,
What can I do for you?
I'm cold.
I'm setting the temperature to 72 degrees.
All right, so that's pretty cool. You know, the system is going to be getting over-the-air updates, and as long as it's connected to the internet, it's going to be a lot smarter. It's going to be learning things every day, and the more that people use the system, the more intelligent it's going to be. So, and speaking of smartphones, the great thing about this infotainment system is how responsive it is. And you know, when you're on your phone and you're pinching to zoom on a map, it's really fast. And then you get into something like this, like a car, and the system is just slow. You go to dig through the settings and it's just taking a couple of seconds for each page to load. Well, that's not the case here. I mean, if I pinch to zoom on this, look how fast that is. That's pretty good. And hit the home button. There we are, right at the home screen. If we go in here into, you know, settings, we can get right into it. And it's just really fast and really responsive, and that's the way it should be. Now, we can also take our touchpad and do the same thing for pinch to zoom. But amongst all the cool features, the absolute coolest thing about MBUX is the augmented reality, which I'm going to demonstrate right now. So, hey Mercedes,
How can I help you?
take me to the nearest Starbucks. All right, now watch this.
Please select an entry.
Number 1.
The route is being calculated.
So now we're set up with our destination to the closed Starbucks, right?
Turn right.
So if I put the car in drive,
Restricted access.
tells me this is restricted access, probably because there's a parking lot somewhere. And as we drive, what you'll notice is what happens on our main infotainment system. So not only are we going to get turn-by-turn directions, obviously,
100 feet,
but
turn
check this out.
left, and then immediately
You see
turn
that?
right.
So now it's using a camera from the top of the windshield. I have a little arrow that's telling me which direction I need to go. And then you see this little blue sign? That's telling me where I need to turn. And then it's going to show me 3 arrows
Turn left, and then immediately turn right.
telling me that I need to turn left. The place that this becomes really helpful
Now turn right.
is, let's say you're driving at night and you can't really see the street sign. Well, look how big that is. It's displaying it for me on my infotainment system. So like at nighttime, it'll show the house number next to the house. It'll show the street sign that you need to turn on. And it just makes it a lot easier for me as a driver, or you as a driver, to navigate safely. I also forgot, I want to show one other thing with this MBUX system that I thought was kind of a neat party trick. Hey Mercedes,
How can I help you?
close the sunroof.
I'm closing the roller sun blind on the sliding sunroof.
It's pretty cool. So what do you guys think? Is this a good car for millennials, or is it falling just short of the mark? I will say it is in a great price range, starting at $32,500. You know, most people my age, that's probably about as much car as they can usually afford getting into their new careers out of college. You know, the MBUX system, being that it kind of makes it more of a smartphone on the inside, also helps it out a lot. But it's really kind of, I think, a safe place for Mercedes to be. I don't think they did anything too crazy. But with that being said, they're going to be coming out with, you know, MBUX on the S-Class and the E-Class, and those are going to be completely different animals. And I'm really excited to see where they go with this system. So if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below if you disagree with me or agree with me. And if you have any more questions about the car, let's do it down there. Please subscribe if you like this content. You know, it helps me out a lot as a small channel. I'm just trying to get this ball rolling, see where it goes. So any little click helps me out a lot. But in any case, I hope you guys have a good day. Hopefully you enjoyed this review, and I'll catch you in the next one.